In 1977, Daryl Hall, fresh of a #1 single with Hall and Oates, made a solo album with Robert Fripp of King Crimson.
I think in Robert's brain, I was the lead singer of King Crimson, and
I knew Robert before we made the record. I've known Robert since like 1975, something like that, and we used to hang out together, and we said, well, why don't we try doing something? I mean, let's just see what happens when what I do and what you do come together, and that's what Sacred Songs and the Exposure album were all about. Just two guys taking their different influences and melding them together.
RCA listened to it and refused to put it out. Not delayed it, refused. RCA refused to release Sacred Songs on the grounds that it wasn't commercial. That was Nick Tosh's Hall and Oates biographer. Their reasoning, as Hall and Oates biographer Nick Tosh's reported it, took one line. It wasn't commercial. The album was called Sacred Songs, and it sat in the vault for 3 years, while the two men who made it smuggled tapes to journalists and DJs, trying to force their own record company to release it.
I don't think many people, nice, ordinary people, that aren't actually involved in a direct way with the record industry realize how appalling it is.
The pairing made no sense on paper. Hall was one of the most bankable pop voices in America. Sarah Smile, rich girl, a man who understood hooks and radio down to the bone. Fripp was the opposite pole. He dissolved King Crimson in 1974, declaring it finished forever, and spent the mid-70s half-retired, convinced the music industry was a dinosaur waiting to fall over. He didn't write for radio. He barely wanted to be in the business at all.
I wished to find some practical way of dealing with this idea of being a small, mobile, intelligent unit. And
they met in New York and heard something in each other, not star and sidemen, collaborators. Hall wanted out of the box. His own hits had built around him. Fripp wanted a real singer who could carry songs through unfamiliar territory. They recorded Sacred Songs in the summer of 1977. Fripp produced and played guitar. He planned it as one panel of a trilogy. His own album, Exposure, and Peter Gabriel's second record make the other two. 3 albums, shared players, shared ideas, one producer. The record swings between both worlds without apologizing to either. Something in 4/4 Time is a pop song Hall could have put on any Hall & Oates album. The Further Away I Am floats his voice over Flippertronics, Fripp's looping tape-delayed guitar system, for which we have a video on the channel, and it's pretty popular, so you might want to watch that one.
We used, Robert, for the first time, used his Frippertronic techniques. It's his, you hear about it? You know anything about that?
Say that again?
Frippertronics, which is really a combination of tape loops and his guitar, and it produces a very hypnotic, almost mantra-like effect. And we use that a lot on the album for transitions and just to create a certain kind of mood, as you'll see on this other song.
There were no drums, no band, nothing to hold on to.
I think that album was out of the realm of pop radio, but could it have gotten a lot of play on?
NYCNY is flat out aggressive, closer to King Crimson than to anything on pop radio. Hall sounds free on it, freer than he'd ever sounded. Then RCA heard it. The label's problem was simple. In the Best magazine in 1979, Robert Fripp said, "Daryl is a remarkable singer. It is too bad RCA is limiting the scope of his career." Daryl Hall was an asset, and Sacred Songs made the asset unpredictable. Hall and Oates fans wanted sleek and radio ready. This wasn't that. RCA's fear wasn't even that the album would flop. It was that it would confuse the brand. So they shelved it. No release date, no public explanation. Then it got pettier. Daryl Hall said in 2007, I was supposed to be the singer on that whole album because he did my album, I did his album. But I was with RCA at the time and they bulk. That's when I completely fell out of love with the music business. Hall had recorded lead vocals for most of Fripp's exposure, his side of the trilogy. RCA blocked those too. Fripp had to rebuild his own album with other singers, keeping Hall on just 2 songs. One track from Sacred Songs, NYCNY, survived onto exposure with new lyrics and a different vocalist.
Situation when it all fell apart with me and Robert, he was very hurt with it personally because he got stomped on.
The trilogy Fripp designed was dismantled by a label that owned one voice in it. I have been very depressed. I can't even express my contempt for the people at RCA who are responsible for this decision. So Hall and Fripp went around them. They passed tapes on Sacred Songs to journalists and disc jockeys. Word spread that the label was sitting on the most interesting thing Daryl Hall had ever done. The lobbying went on for years. Press mentions, letters, pressure. In Cleveland Plain Dealer in 1979, Daryl Hall said, I never could figure out why it was so late. I was caught in the middle of record politics. In March 1980, RCA gave in. 3 years late, minimal fanfare, the album charted modestly and disappeared. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and thank God I managed to overcome it. Hall never made peace with that delay. His argument was that, released in 1977, Sacred Songs would have sat comfortably next to what Bowie and Eno were doing that same year. The audience existed. RCA just never let it find the record. By 1980, it landed like an artifact, songs from a moment that had already passed.
No, really, I love Robert. I have the ultimate respect for Robert. I think that he had some aspirations that weren't realized.
Fripp read it differently. For him, the burial was a lesson about the industry itself. This is what happens to work that doesn't fit a category. The work still happened. That, he'd say, was the point. Hall went back to Hall & Oates and had the biggest run of his career. Kiss on My List, Private Eyes, Man Eater, exactly the outcome RCA wanted. And decades later, Sacred Songs got rediscovered anyway, reissued, praised, name-checked by musicians who weren't born when RCA locked it up. Hall still pulls its songs out live. The one thing nobody gets to know is what the other Daryl Hall, the one RCA kept in the vault, would have made next. Thank you for watching and wish you a great day.